Rose McIver plays Sam in the CBS hit sitcom Ghost. I'm at Noble Gold Derby, and I want to kick things off by asking you, Rose, what was different about season 2 of Ghost?
Season 2, I feel like we all just are in a bit of a better flow. Like we know each other. There's 10 people in the sort of regular ensemble. So we just had more to jump off. Like we knew each other better. The jokes kind of sat more naturally between people. It felt like we had a year, that's the big difference. We'd had a year of really familiarizing ourselves. And I think we afforded ourselves a bit more like breaking away into smaller groups and having like some different dynamics when any sort of 3 people at once might be together. It's like just reveals different facets of each character. So it felt like we got a little bit more texture and depth, I reckon.
What was a bit more of that texture or depth or a new facet to Sam that we discovered this season, or that we're discovering?
Well, the major one was Sam got possessed. Possessed. So that was a pretty major depth to her vocals, and depth to her hunger for COD. That was definitely something new. It was really fun to get to play with that and to be part of the kind of silly. I think Sam is often the straight man in these environments, and this was kind of, it harked back a little bit to in iZombie, where I played different characters and I got to sort of experience some of the heightened things for my character. So that was really fun. And then, the regular life that she has of living with 8 ghosts is like, I think in that world, she's getting better at boundary setting. She's getting better at delegating, and kind of she's becoming a better leader. I think she definitely still has some major drop balls, and she's quite partial to a lie, I've noticed. Like she will just tell a little fib to try to get around something. So we see plenty of her shortcomings, but I think she's getting better at recognizing that she cannot please everybody all of the time, and that throughout the course of the second season, she's kind of getting a little bit more strength of her own identity in the equation, I think.
Now, when we spoke last year, you said in the hiatus you did a course online with the UCB Upright Citizens Brigade Improv group. How did that affect like how you approached season 2 of the show as an actress? Like,
it helped me understand how some of the other players worked more, probably. Yeah, it was definitely it gave me insight into like the language and the sort of just the UCB vernacular and what people are aiming for, and the games of the scenes. And it was definitely helpful. I mean, I just thought it was really helpful for me in general as a performer. It's very liberating, and it asks you to kind of really throw caution to the wind and just sort of be present in a moment. So that was, I'm very, very glad I did that.
Now, you talked about the Christmas Spirit episode where you got to be possessed by Thorfen, and that meant you got to portray this different character and do different things with your voice and different things with your body. How did you approach that? Especially like, because we talked last year, you approach your performances quite technically and you love that sort of side of things. How did you get in a different character and get to play different?
Well, in many ways, it was like what I had been doing on iZombie for a long time of, really fast upload of some kind of basic personality, kind of like character traits and, a couple of key things that you can latch onto and watch. What was different was in iZombie, I was always building characters that I was really inventing. It wasn't ever mimicking somebody else's. So week to week, I would sort of, maybe I'd be a gambler and I'd be some obsessive neurotic scientist or whatever. And it's my ideas of who those people are. In this, I had the incredible weapon that is Devon Long as Thorfen that I was trying to impersonate. So it's different. But I did have the same approach of like, prep what I can, do the homework that I can, have my lines learned, like do the basic things to just really be able to be as free in the moment as I could be to kind of roll with what the people around me are giving me at any given moment. Because so much of it, like you can prep things all you want, and I love doing that, but you also are given the scene by your partners, and you have to be able to turn on a dime and work with what they're all offering you, and it might be very different to what you'd anticipated.
Yeah, like it's so important, like in those group scenes and like in an ensemble, listening to your co-stars and responding to what they're giving you. Like when you're actually then maybe an episode later got to play one of them, how does the role of listening to Devon and like paying attention to what he's doing, how does that change? Or is it the same? Like,
I mean, he's so generous. He really took time. We like went out for some dinners, and he went through and said line delivery kind of work with me. I mean, I'm such a fan of his, so it's easy to see the things that stood out to me. And it's never going to be, Sam isn't Thor. She's being possessed by somebody. So we think of it as like someone sitting in a little bulldozer kind of operating her, which is more forgiving. It allows you to sort of blend together a little bit of the parts that you can achieve, because obviously my voice will not go as deep as Devon Long's voice will go yet, till I start smoking, and we'll see what happens. But for now, it was definitely a blend. And I just think, I had so much to build on there. And then I just have to trust that the people I'm working with and the director, we were working with Jay Carras, who's just absolutely fantastic. And, I trust him to sort of rein me in or dial me up a bit. And it was cool. I like the idea of like bringing everything I possibly can and sweeping my side of the street, being as sort of ready for it as I can, and then just being able to play.
Was there like a number one tip that Devon gave you for playing Thor?
Less pirate, he just kept saying, you're sounding like a pirate again, go less pirate. And that was, never has a truer word been said. I was going way too pirate, and it is still pretty pirate in the final. But I think Devon also needs to come to terms with the fact he is a little bit piratey. Like he's got a little hint of pirate in his Viking. So, there's a bit of a Venn diagram where pirate accent and Viking accent overlap. And who am I to point that out to him? But there you go.
All that time on the sea for pirates and Vikings, it'll do something to you boys. Yeah.
It's the marine.
Yeah. The interesting thing, like Sam often in scenes has to like not react to ghosts because she'll be dealing with a customer, or she'll be dealing with someone who doesn't know the ghosts are real, or she doesn't want to get in, like have to explain to them all the things about ghosts. So they'll be doing ridiculous things or trying to distract her, and she's got to just ignore them. What I thought was interesting, like Rose, how much are you as an actress sometimes in those scenes or other scenes having to ignore the actors around you because Sam has to, and also because maybe you're wanting to laugh or something?
Yeah, there's always distractions on set. There's just like tons of distractions all the time, and people, whether it's off-camera actors or people trying to do their other jobs, or operators, or there's just things that you could easily be distracted by. So it is a little bit of just like an extension of that, of just carrying that over. But it's one of the harder parts of playing Sam, I think, is trying to wrestle with, like, you're serving two scenes all the time. You're serving like what's really happening, and then what's happening in Ghostland. And I do have to really think, and I get a lot of guidance from directors and my co-stars to kind of figure out where it's going to best serve, like how much is worth indulging of them, and what's distracting from either of the scenes in too major a way. So it's always a little bit of like, that's actually one of the more challenging things to kind of turn the dial up and down on, is like, do we really need or want to feel her having that pressure at the moment? Is that kind of, or is their work doing enough? And actually we just wanted to engage with the guest of the hotel or whoever she might be talking to.
Do you ever find, Rose, it hard not to break in those group scenes?
Yeah, very much. There's what helps is when you've had like a long week of lots of long days, and you're like, we really need to get through this. So it's probably easier later in the season not to break, but at the start you're just, I mean, they're so funny. I'm so lucky to get to work with the people I work with. Richie Moriarty, he's one of my harder ones. Like right just before we're about to kind of roll picture, I'll be a little bit like, Richie, I need a second, because he makes me laugh too much. He's very good.
Is there a particular scene from season 2 that was like just particularly hard not to laugh in, that you're just finding so funny?
Yep, let me think. this is such a weird moment. But when Jay, it's like I think the opening of one of the episodes that's just screened, when Jay is sitting alone in the kitchen and it turns out all the ghosts are sitting around him and want him, know that he's like farted in front of them. And anyway, I'm like walking in, I know that he's trying to hide it. There was just something about like the way my tummy hurts at the end, and we started getting really committed and it being very, very high stakes that this had happened. And like, I feel really betrayed that he would do that. And it just the wheels fell off really quickly. And that became a really hard one to get through.
Yeah. Can you think of any thing, because there's a little bit of room for improv in the show, at least that's what we talked about last season. I'm assuming season 2 is the same. Can you remember anything that you or someone improvised this season?
What are some standouts? There was, let me think. Sheila had a good line. Like, Flower had a really good moment. What was that? Gosh, look, you've caught me on a brain fog day. No, nothing. Flower had a really good moment, and my brain has just gone full Flower right now. I can't tell you what it is.
Oh, I love it. Bruce, how are you not like the character you play, Sam? How are you most different from her?
I can't lie. I'm very not good at lying, and she is through necessity most of the time able to kind of bend a few truths, but I would struggle with that. She always gets outed anyway, but I think that we're pretty different. And even in like, she has to lie and tell everybody that she's not seeing ghosts all the time. That would be really challenging to me. That's not something I'm very good at.
Yeah. Another episode that I thought was like, and very different from the Thorfen Christmas Spirit episode where you get to play another character, be really silly, is the family business episode. Where you have that scene with Hetty at the end where she talks about how she was a mother, you talk about how you were a daughter, and that was like less of a silly scene, more of showing the emotional side of the show and the characters. How did you approach that scene with her?
I am really lucky. Rebecca is so complex in her thinking, and these moments move so quickly in a sitcom. You just like, it's 21 minutes and you're trying to get out really big moments of revelation. And that's just the nature of this job. Like that's the job, is to make that work. And she's incredible at like finding textures and layers in those moments. I think a lot of the time what's not said on the show ends up being really important too. And Sam's frustration throughout most of the show with moments of not having her own family and trying to build this crazy big family out of these ghosts. And she, there's like when we have little tiny hints of what Sam and Hetty both went through in their relationships as a mother and as a daughter, I think it kind of offers volumes that hopefully carry on through other episodes of like why they maybe as controlling as they are, what they've lacked and what they crave. And it's just a moment of vulnerability. And especially Hetty does not offer that vulnerability often. So I think Sam, for her, as frustrated as she can be with her, it's a real bonding kind of scene that we got to play with.
Is there, like, I guess the great thing with Sam is she does get to interact with all the different ghosts on the show, but is there a particular ghost that you'd like more episodes or scenes with that you feel like you haven't got as much of a chance to play with yet?
Yeah, I'd love Sam to extend her nosiness and desire to kind of understand people and invest in their lives to Nancy, the basement ghost, played by Betsy Sparrow. I would really like, I feel like we haven't had a chance to learn any of Nancy's backstory. And I think that Sam is the person to really begin digging around in that information. So I'd love to see that. I love playing with Betsy. She's just an absolute delight and so talented.
And what is something that you've just loved about season 2 of Ghost, something like from that experience that you're really enjoying or enjoyed?
I've loved just getting to know Sam a bit better. It takes a long time to make sense of who a character is, and I'm still, very much at the beginning of the journey of figuring her out. But I think with, we've filmed 40 episodes, I guess, so I'm getting a much stronger sense of who she is, and I think the relationship between the writers and the actors is much more kind of it's just that there's a greater level of understanding in both directions of who we are and what we're trying to serve with the character. So I'm excited to kind of feel more familiar and to hopefully build more and more on that into season 3 as well.
I guess like season 1, like of any show, is so much about world building, particularly a show like Ghost, where the world operates very differently to the world we live in now. Is season 2 like give you more opportunities to explore the character because the world and the conventions are already established?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, when we start dividing scenes down into smaller numbers of people as well, when you have 2 or 3 players in a scene, you are able to afford just kind of more complex conversation and just to understand the characters better and better. But in saying that, like, part of what works so well is pairing those little deeper moments with just this rich tableau of everybody at once and the kind of giant menagerie that we are. So I wouldn't change that for the world, but I do think it offers a greater insight into the characters in season 2. And especially we get to go back and look at these amazing eras that these people lived in. And, from a visual standpoint, that's just such a luxury. And I think we have such a phenomenal team of designers on the show that it's nice to be able to show them off and to kind of flex where all of these people are from, because although they're all living right now, it's not their context. And it's easy, as obvious as that seems, it's easy to forget it because they're all living in this house today with today's things around them. But it's nice to kind of see what their lives would have been in all of those different time periods.
As the star of a sitcom, do you ever like look back or think back to a favorite sitcom you had growing up that might sort of in some ways influence your experience now?
I mean, my sort of after school, when I came home, it was Friends. It was just like, I loved watching Friends. I loved the comfort. I loved being in people's living rooms and them being in my living room. And I love that we get that in our show too. That and that's very much character driven. It's about those people that you fall in love with and you discover their quirks as they go. So that's kind of a standout for me in terms of, serialized elements, but being great standalone episodes too. That's like the sort of a bit of a North Star for me in terms of what I think of as a sitcom.
Oh, and the ghosts love Friends too. So
I know,
one of the ghost sitcoms. And that must have been really fun. We had the episode where we had how the 2 of the characters want a respite.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. No, I love that. And it just depends, there are tons of brilliant sitcoms that I love. It's just like that landed for me at a time when I was exactly the right age, that it just has a nostalgic quality that I'm very, very, very comforted by.
Yeah. Now, like to finish off, last year you said something I think you learnt through maybe UCB, maybe a bit of your writing and stuff, is to trust your impulses. Mm-hmm. What is an area in which you have to trust your impulses? It might be a scene, it might be just an approach in season 2 of Ghosts.
It was, what was a standout? I mean, I think the Christmas episode is just a standout. Christmas Spirit is like, it's back to really fast moving, big character choices. There's no time for deep reflection throughout a day, wondering if your process is working or not. It's really just like, I did my homework and then I stepped in there and just kind of went for it. And I think that was a good reminder that we can all do it. And we can all do it when pressed as well, to just, to trust like one of the first things, if not the first thing that comes to mind performance wise. So that was a good kind of reminder of the value of all of that. And I can feel safe in doing that when I've spent all that time with Devon beforehand and sort of I feel like I have things in my hip pocket that I'm able to pull from on on the fly. So yeah, that was good. That was a good challenge.
Well, Rose, thank you so much for talking with us today. People can go to goldderby.com to read other interviews and make your own awards predictions, because the Emmy Awards are coming up. So all the best of luck for the Emmy Awards, Rose. And it's always just so lovely to chat. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You too. Really appreciate it.